Welcome back to the deep dive. Um, Today we are going to talk about a gold rush, but I actually want to completely ignore the gold.
Which is, I mean, that's a counterintuitive way to start a story about wealth, but go on.
Just bear with me here.
Yeah.
Because in this AI gold rush of the mid-2020s, you know, the gold is the model.
Yeah.
It's ChatGPT, it's Claude, it's Gemini.
Right, the software.
Exactly, the software that writes your emails and codes your apps. Everyone is just obsessed with the software. But today we are pivoting. We are looking at the pickaxes, the shovels, the denim jeans.
Infrastructure.
Yes, the infrastructure.
Yeah.
We are looking at the massive concrete, power-hungry, heat-generating physical reality required to run that software.
Yeah.
Because without the physical layer, AI is just math on a whiteboard. It doesn't actually do anything.
That's a crucial distinction because I think we often conceptualize the cloud as this ethereal thing floating in the sky. It's not. It's a literal warehouse in New Jersey full of silicon that gets hotter than a pizza oven.
And to understand this physical layer, we are unpacking a company that has been flashing across the ticker a lot lately. Nebius Group. Ticker symbol NBIS.
Yeah, Nebius.
Now, depending on who you ask, this is either a brand new player that just magically appeared on the NASDAQ, or it's a 20-year-old tech giant in disguise.
It's a bit of both, actually, and honestly, it's one of the most fascinating corporate restructuring stories of the entire decade.
So let's set the scene for you. It is February 2026. Nebius just dropped their Q4 2025 earnings about 10 days ago.
Mid-February, yeah.
The stock is volatile. They've signed massive contracts with Microsoft, and they were pouring concrete everywhere from New Jersey to Finland.
Yep.
So our mission today is to figure out what is going on. Is this Amsterdam-based company actually becoming the backbone of the global AI economy? Or are they just burning cash in a high-stakes infrastructure war?
It's a story about rapid scaling, huge financial bets, and a vision that goes way beyond just renting out servers.
Let's start with the basics of their identity then. Because Nebius sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like a startup name, like something from a sci-fi novel.
It really does.
But you look at the workforce, 850 people, 400 of them are hardcore AI engineers. That doesn't look like a startup. It looks like a veteran army.
That's because it is, and we have to address the phoenix in the room here. Nebius is essentially the company that rose from the ashes of Yandex.
The quote-unquote Google of Russia.
Right. But, and this is the absolutely critical part for anyone following this to understand, following the geopolitical fallout in the early 2020s, the company went through a massive, complex restructuring.
They cut ties completely.
Completely. They completely divested the Russian assets, sold them off. Nebius is the Dutch holding company that kept the international assets, the intellectual property, and critically, they kept the talent.
So they kept the engineers who built search engines, self-driving cars, and cloud infrastructure, and just left the legacy business behind.
Exactly. They are headquartered in Amsterdam, listed on the NASDAQ, and they hit the ground running because they didn't have to learn how to build a data center from scratch.
Right.
They've been doing it for decades. They essentially started a startup with thousands of years of combined engineering experience.
Now, in their marketing, they don't actually call themselves a cloud provider like AWS or Google Cloud. They use this very specific term, NeoCloud.
NeoCloud, yeah.
It sounds a bit like marketing fluff to me. Is there actually a difference, or is it just a cool name?
No, it's actually a very functional distinction. So think of Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure like a massive department store, like a super Walmart.
Okay, I'm with you. I can buy tires, I can buy milk, I can buy a lawnmower.
Exactly. In the cloud sense, you can host a simple website, you can store your family photos, run a database for your HR department, or run a complex app. It's general purpose. It's designed to do everything pretty well.
So Nebius is not Walmart.
Nebius is a Formula One pit crew garage. They do one thing and one thing only: high-performance computing, or HPC, specifically for artificial intelligence.
So if I want to host my cap log, I don't go to Nebius.
Please don't. It would be a massive waste of power. But if you are a company trying to train a massive large language model that requires 10,000 GPUs working in perfect synchronization for 3 months straight,
Then you need a NeoCloud.
you need a NeoCloud.
Why, though? Why can't I just use the department store? Walmart sells motor oil, right?
You can, but it's all about efficiency and latency. In AI training, the bottleneck isn't just the chip itself, it's how fast the chips talk to each other.
The networking.
Exactly. Nebius is vertically integrated. That means they don't just buy off-the-shelf servers from Dell or HP and plug them into a wall. They design their own racks, They design their own cooling systems. They build their own software stack to manage the data flow.
So they're tweaking the hardware to squeeze every last ounce of performance out of the chips.
Precisely. Their CEO, Arkady Veloz, calls it tech-to-tech, or T2T. They are engineers building tools for other engineers.
Right.
When you are burning millions of dollars a day on electricity just to train a model, a 10% efficiency gain is a massive amount of money saved. It's the difference between profitability and bankruptcy for their clients.
That makes total sense. It's specialized tooling for a highly specialized job. So let's get into the weeds of the financials, because they released their Q4 2025 report on February 12th, and the analysts are all calling the numbers explosive.
Explosives is the right word. Let's look at the revenue first. Q4 revenue came in at approximately $228 million.
Which in the grand scheme of big tech isn't huge. I mean, Google makes that in, what, an hour?
Yeah, the absolute number isn't the headline here. The growth rate is. That $228 million is up 547% year over year.
547%. That's a rocket ship. That's not normal corporate growth.
It's absolute hypergrowth. And for the full year 2025, they hit about $530 million. But in the cloud business specifically, the AI cloud business revenue is actually a lagging indicator.
Because it tells you what happened in the past.
Right. If you want to know what the business is worth right now, you have to look at ARR, the annualized run rate.
Just to unpack that for you listening at home, ARR is basically taking the value of the contracts you have actively running right now and projecting them out over a 12-month period, right?
Precisely. It's a snapshot of saying, if nothing else changed, this is how much money we make in the next year. They ended 2025 with $1.2 billion in ARR.
Wow. So they went from essentially zero to a billion-dollar run rate in roughly 18 months.
Correct. That speed is almost unprecedented in the hardware space. So software companies can grow that fast because they just copy-paste code.
Right, they just scale servers.
But Nebius had to physically build the machines to generate that revenue.
But here's the number that really caught my eye in the report. Usually when a company grows this fast, building data centers, buying chips, hiring engineers, they are bleeding cash. They are setting money on fire to capture market share.
The classic Silicon Valley blitzscaling model. I mean, Uber didn't make a profit for a decade.
Right, exactly. But Nebius just flipped the script on that. In Q4 2025, their adjusted EBITDA actually turned positive.
This is the massive aha moment for the bulls on this stock. EBITDA being earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Being positive means their core operations are profitable.
So the unit economics actually work.
Exactly. It means the cost of the electricity, the cooling, and the staffing is significantly less than what they are charging clients for the compute.
Wow.
They are making money on the actual service even while they spend billions expanding the footprint. That is incredibly rare for an infrastructure company this young.
That proves it's a real sustainable business and not just a hype bubble. But who is paying them? Who is driving this billion-dollar run rate?
We call them whale clients, and the biggest whale in the ocean just swam right up to the dock.
Microsoft.
The Microsoft deal is massive. It's worth up to $17.4 billion over 5 years.
Hold on. Let's just pause on that for a second. Microsoft is arguably the absolute king of AI right now. They own Azure. They have effectively unlimited money. They are building their own data centers. Why on earth are they renting computers from a company in Amsterdam?
That is the defining question of the 2026 AI market right there. And the answer is incredibly simple. Scarcity.
Scarcity of what?
Capacity. Microsoft simply cannot build data centers fast enough to meet their own internal demand. They need capacity yesterday.
And Nebius had it.
Nebius had the capacity, they had the chips, and they had the performance ready to go right then and there.
So it's a massive validation of the tech.
Huge validation. Microsoft isn't going to risk their flagship AI models on a shoddy network. The fact that they signed a multi-year deal worth $17 billion tells the entire market that Nebius is enterprise grade, and they didn't stop there. They also have a deal with Meta worth around $3 billion.
So they have the contracts. They have the money coming in. But now they have the really hard part. They actually have to deliver the compute. And this brings us to the physical reality of the AI gold rush we were talking about earlier. We keep hearing about shortages.
Right, and it's not a shortage of demand. The world wants effectively infinite AI right now. The shortage is entirely capacity. Specifically, it comes down to power and chips.
Let's talk about the power, because I was reading through their expansion plans, and the numbers are just staggering. They are targeting over 3 gigawatts of contracted power by 2026.
To put that in perspective for you, a standard nuclear power reactor produces about 1 gigawatt.
So Nebius is trying to secure 3 nuclear power plants worth of electricity just to run their servers.
Correct. And in 2026, power is the single hardest asset to secure. You can buy chips if you have the money. You can build a concrete shell for a building in a year.
Right.
But getting a utility company to upgrade a substation and give you 300 megawatts of power, that takes years of negotiation permits and massive grid upgrades.
So if Nebius has these power contracts already signed, that's a massive moat.
It's an unbelievable moat. If you have the power, you win. And they are building everywhere to secure this. They have a flagship facility in Menseli, Finland.
Which I assume is partly for the cooling.
Exactly. Finland is very cold. You can use outside air to cool the servers for free for much of the year, which drives down that electricity bill we talked about. But they are also aggressively expanding in the U.S. to be physically closer to those whale clients.
Right. Proximity matters for latency.
Yep. They have a massive site in New Jersey scaling up to 300 megawatts and another big expansion in Kansas City.
And I saw one in Iceland that really caught my eye. Geothermal powered.
Yes. It sounds a bit like a James Bond villain lair, but it's actually brilliant engineering.
How so?
It's zero carbon energy, naturally cold climate, very low cost. It's absolutely perfect for training models where latency doesn't matter as much. You can train the model in Iceland and then just ship the finished quote-unquote brain back to the US.
Okay, so they have the gym for the AI, they have the power to run it. What exactly are they filling the gym with?
The absolute latest silicon from NVIDIA. Nebius is a preferred partner.
Which means, what exactly? Does Jensen Huang just have them on speed dial?
Basically, yes. It means when the new H200s or the massive Blackwell B200 chips come off the assembly line, Nebius gets them first.
Wow.
In an arms race, getting the weapon a month before your enemy is a huge deal. They are deploying tens of thousands of these GPUs. And because they design their own racks, they can deploy them much faster than a company that has to wait for Dell to ship a pre-made server.
So far, this is a very solid, very logical business. Build big sheds, fill them with really expensive computers, and rent them to Microsoft. It's high-tech real estate, essentially. Yeah.
But
But reading through Arkady Volodya's interviews and the investor decks, it feels like they have ambitions way beyond just being a landlord.
that's where this deep dive gets really interesting. If Nebius just stays an infrastructure company, they're eventually competing with everyone. But they are trying to move up the food chain. They are talking a lot about agentic AI.
We've touched on this on the show before, but let's clarify it again for you. How is agentic AI different from just asking ChatGPT a question?
Think of it this way. A chatbot is a librarian. You ask a question, it gives you an answer. It's totally passive. An agent is an executive assistant.
Okay.
You say, book me a flight to London under $600, get me a window seat and put it on my calendar. And the agent actually goes out to the web, negotiates, pays, and updates your schedule.
The agent actually does things. It
Right.
takes action in the real world.
It executes. And Nebius recently acquired a company called Tavily to really bolster this. They want to provide the platform where these agents live and work.
Why does that matter for their business model, though? Why not just sell the compute?
Because it's stickier. If you build your AI agents on Nebius's software platform, you aren't just renting raw chips anymore. You are deeply embedded in their ecosystem. It's much harder to leave. It moves them from being a pure commodity provider to a platform provider.
And speaking of agents that, quote-unquote, do things in the physical world, we have to talk about the robots. Because tucked inside this cloud infrastructure company is a self-driving car division.
Everyday, yes. It seems totally disconnected at first glance. Why does a server farm own a robot taxi company?
It feels like a leftover from the Yandex days. Like
Yeah.
they just forgot to sell it off during the divorce.
It is a legacy division, but there is a massive synergy here that people completely miss. Think about what autonomous driving actually is at its core.
It's a robot trying not to crash.
It's a data problem, a truly massive data problem. To teach a car to drive, you need to process petabytes of video data. That requires massive training capacity, which Nebius Cloud obviously provides. But then the cars themselves are out roaming the streets, collecting more data, which then needs to be processed again.
It's a complete flywheel. The cloud trains the cars, and the cars feed data back to the cloud.
Exactly. And Avridi is out there testing in Austin, Texas right now. They even signed a deal with Uber to have Avridi robots fulfilling Uber Eats orders and eventually doing passenger rides.
So the vision is Nebius builds the brain in their data center in Finland, and Avridi provides the body that uses it on the ground in Texas.
And don't overlook the pure financial aspect of this. Analysts believe Everyday alone could be worth billions. It's like a venture capital moonshot hidden inside a boring infrastructure stock.
Right.
If self-driving cars finally take off, Nebius shareholders get that massive upside essentially for free.
And they also have Triple Ten, which is an edtech platform, and Toloka for data labeling. It's quite a diversified portfolio for a pure infrastructure play.
It reflects that legacy strength we discussed earlier. They didn't just inherit some servers, they inherited a diverse ecosystem of tech businesses that all feed into each other's success.
Okay, we've painted a pretty rosy picture here so far. Revenue is up, operations are profitable, Microsoft is paying the big bills, and they've got robots delivering food in Texas. But let's play devil's advocate for a minute. What keeps the CEO awake at night? What goes wrong for Nebius in 2026?
The capital burn. The financial guidance for 2026 is just wildly ambitious. They are projecting revenue between $3 billion and $3.4 billion.
Which is a huge jump from $530 million. That's like a 6x jump in 1 year.
It is. They are targeting that ARR of $7 to $9 billion by the end of the year. But to hit those numbers, they have to spend an ungodly amount of money. Their CapEx guidance for 2026, their capital expenditure, is $16 billion to $20 billion.
Wait, let me just do the math on that out loud.
Well,
They are bringing in maybe $3 billion in actual revenue, but they're planning to spend $20 billion on new equipment and data centers.
yes. They are burning cash at a historic rate to build these physical assets. Now, they have the financing lined up. They aren't going bankrupt next week or anything, but this is a serious high-wire act.
Yeah.
They will have negative free cash flow for a good while. Every single dollar coming in is immediately going right back into concrete and silicon.
And silicon has a shelf life, right? That's the other huge risk here.
That's the depreciation risk. An NVIDIA chip isn't like buying a piece of real estate. It doesn't slowly gain value over time. It's like buying a banana. It starts rotting the moment you bring it home.
Because the next faster chip comes out 18 months later and makes yours look slow.
Exactly. The useful life of an AI GPU might be 4 years tops. So Nebius is running on a treadmill. They have to rent that chip out 24/7 to make their money back before it becomes obsolete junk.
Wow.
If AI demand dips even for a single quarter, they are left holding a lot of very expensive, rapidly depreciating metal.
And they aren't the only ones building either.
Not at all. This is the great AI infrastructure war. You have CoreWeave, which is another massive private player growing insanely fast. You have the hyperscalers themselves, like Amazon and Google. And remember, Microsoft is Nebius's biggest client right now, but Microsoft is also aggressively building their own custom chips, like the Maya accelerator.
That's the frenemy risk. Microsoft is paying them billions today, but actively trying to replace them tomorrow.
Exactly right. Microsoft needs capacity right this second, so they pay Nebius whatever it takes. But in 3 years, maybe Microsoft says, thanks for the bridge capacity, we built our own fleet, we don't need you anymore. Nebius needs to diversify its client base frantically before that happens.
They need 50 other clients.
They need 50 other clients, so they aren't totally dependent on just Microsoft and Meta for survival.
So let's try to wrap this all up for you. We have a company here that has successfully pulled off one of the hardest pivots in tech history. Going from a regional search engine to a global AI infrastructure powerhouse. They have the whale contracts, they have the top-tier talent, and their core operations are already profitable.
And for you listening, this is just the perfect example of how the AI boom is physically manifesting in the real world. We get so lost in the magic of AI software.
You really do.
But Nebius shows us the gritty reality. It's land deals, it's power grid negotiations, it's shipping containers full of heavy servers docking in New Jersey. Nebius is quite literally building the physical roads for all this AI traffic.
I love that roads analogy. But here's the final thought I want to leave everyone with today. We talk about them building the roads, but with Everyday, they also own the drivers. And with their agentic AI platform, Tavily, they are starting to own the navigators too.
Right, they are capturing layers across the entire stack.
So are they really just a landlord for chips? Or are they quietly positioning themselves to be the underlying operating system for the entire physical AI world? Because if they can connect all those dots between the data center in Finland, the AI agent booking your flight, and the robot delivering your dinner in Austin, that is a profoundly bigger story than just renting out servers.
That is the multi-trillion-dollar question. If they actually pull that off, they aren't just a participant in the AI economy anymore. They become one of its primary architects.
Definitely something to watch closely as we move through 2026. We'll be keeping an eye on those quarterly reports to see if they actually hit that $9 billion target. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Always a pleasure to look under the hood.
And thank you for listening. Keep curious, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.